Do you want more misunderstood movies and madcap slumber party fun? Well, join us. Join our supercore at patreon.com/cinema-insomnia. You can get exclusive perks and help us make this 16th season your favorite Cinema Insomnia season ever. Become one of our patrons. I think you're a patron at Patreon. Yeah, I believe that's how that goes.
Does Tron go to Patreon?
Oh, I hope so. I love Tron. Patreon.com/cinema-insomnia.
This space for rent. This signal space to your ears for rent. This space between your ears for rent.
Do you have a product, service, website, company? Propose, perhaps? No, we don't want to do that, right?
If you can't propose?
Well, I mean, if you really wanted to propose...
It would be encased forever.
Johnny says, will you marry me, Susie? We could do that, sure.
Yeah, sure.
Why not? If you have a product or service or whatever to promote, people, especially that you want to promote to our listeners, why not become a sponsor?
A sponsor, you say?
Yeah, a sponsor of this program. Contact Mr. Lobo at his personal email. I'm giving this out right now just for you. Okay, don't tell anyone.
Shh,
all right?
Whisper it.
Mr. Lobo, that's MRLOBO, at cinemainsomnia.com. CINEMAINSOMNIA.com.
That sounds so sexy.
Yes. Mr. Lobo at cinemainsomnia.com. Contact me and we will get you on the air. We will talk about your stuff.
Your stuff. I believe this is the point where we start the program.
Oh, that's right. So why not we get this program started? All systems go.
Hurrah.
Attention, sleepless nights. Thank you for consuming this OSI 74 product broadcast live from the Black Knight satellite. For optimum performance and safety, your host, Mr. Lobo, asks that you please listen to these instructions carefully. When in a hospital or other healthcare facility, observe the restrictions on the use of electronic devices. Switch off before boarding an aircraft to prevent interference with communications systems. Do not operate this device in the presence of flammable gases or fumes, chemical plants, or where blasting operations are in progress. Always listen hands-free while driving a vehicle. Failure to observe these instructions may lead to immediate termination. It's time now for the show to begin. Thank you. Have a very pleasant evening.
You're not dreaming. You're listening to the Sleepless Nights of Insomnia, brought to you live from the Black Knight satellite. And across from me, or to my left, or to my right, depending on how far left or right you want to go, is Paul Sanders, producer, and whoa! Oh no, Paul, come on, get up, Paul, get up, Paul.
What?
Paul Sanders. I just introduced you. We're supposed to be doing a podcast
Again.
Yeah.
Am I in the car
you
still?
know, you're the producer of
Am I
this
in a
podcast.
school?
No, you're not in a car. You're not Robin Williams. I'm a genie.
Oh, I'm damn tired.
No.
Busy weekend. Sorry, folks.
Yeah, very busy weekend. I only went with you one day. We're beginning our convention season. Paul and I, Paul was basically went to Katsucon, and I sort of came along for the ride.
And for those who don't know what a Katsucon is, what is a Katsucon anyway?
What is a Katsucon?
A Katsucon. It's not a convention about cats.
No, or
I do not know
chefs.
I do not know what it comes from. Otakon comes from the word otaku, which is a.
Is that derogatory?
Yeah, it's a definition for young anime fans. So Katsucon is another anime based show. I'm sorry, I'm gonna flub all over the place because I'm so tired. But it's an anime based show. It's so you went there and it's like maybe 98% was like anime.
Most of the people are there because they are into anime shows.
5% was superheroes. 2% were let me add that up, but yeah.
Yes, whatever. There certainly weren't a lot of horror fans there, or sci-fi, strictly sci-fi fans.
Right.
You know, most of the people who were there were fans of anime shows and video games, I would say, too.
Right. And apparently boobs at midnight.
A lot of boobs. Yes.
As I'm reading the schedule, and I'm like, there's a panel called I Love Boobs. We're like, what is that? And then
hentai, probably.
And then Dixie's friend said, yeah, that's basically what it is they just talk about hentai or whatever.
What's there to talk about?
Okay.
It's like roll that beautiful boob footage.
But I'm like, if this is at 12 o'clock and it's called I Love Boobs and it's about hentai, then what's the hentai panel at 1 a.m?
That's when they really ramp it up. That's full frontal.
She said maybe the first ones where they talk about it, and then there's probably the other ones that show it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or practice it.
Oh, no. That's when the tentacles come out. Left and right. This is the left boob. This is the right boob.
Yeah, I said that we should do a mock-up of it where it's actually on a slideshow and you got a little laser pointer.
Yes. Oh, wait, the slide's projected backwards.
This is backwards, so this is the left boob, and this is the right boob.
Yeah. But basically, Mr. Lobo at an anime convention is usually like the Maytag repairman because a lot of people are confused. Like, even if it's a Cinema Insomnia fan.
But you got two people that recognized you, didn't they, Ron?
I was identified, yes, as Ron Burgundy from Anchorman.
What was the name you came up afterwards?
Will Ferrell. What was the name I came? Oh, I said Dark Burgundy.
Dark Burgundy.
I'll also accept Brown Burgundy. I think we had several. Yes. I don't. I mean, I guess this. I was not dressed as Cinema Insomnia, Mr. Lobo. I guess strictly I was dressed as Alan Smithy, or what I call Alan Smithy,
or that guy from the catalogs of the carpet catalogs.
Yes,
that you keep around the house.
Yes, exactly.
Really weird reading material on the can, by the way.
Yeah,
I demand better books up there.
Yeah, I like old books about carpeting and people wearing turtlenecks, but that's a different story. There is Alan Smithy is sometimes what I call my OSI 74 personality, which is the president of Outer Space International, which is our network, pseudo-futuristic via the 1970s with the weird denim jacket and a orange turtleneck and polyester pants and beetle boots. And
then it's an OSI 74 sticker.
Yes.
Pocket sticker.
I need to get a patch, but I have a sticker over my over my pocket of the OSI 74 logo. And then I have my nice little cloisonnes, right? Mm-hmm. Cloisonne? I always say
mayonnaise?
Yeah. Yes. Cloister.
Clusterfuck?
Yes. That's right. Yes, Paul. No, not maybe. But usually it's interesting because even if they are a fan of OSI 74 or a fan of Cinema Insomnia, or they see me there and their brain is that weekend. They're not there to think about B movies or horror movies or comedy. They're there for boobs. Yes,
at 12 in the morning.
Animated boobs. Because they can't relate to human boobs anymore. And
I don't know. I am a part of the Plus 21 site. And stay away. Just stay away, all of you.
And so a lot of people, when they see me there, they're confused. They don't understand why I would be there as a guest, or if I'm there as a guest, or So that's a strange one. And it's weird because at a lot of conventions, I'm not, depending on the convention, some people, we went to, in Kentucky, we went through a convention. We weren't even there we were just there to just see the convention. And we walked up to the place and they go, "Oh, Mr. Lobo." And they gave us a table and badges and they immediately identified me and thought I was there for business. And we didn't have anything.
Security.
No, didn't even have anything to sell. So some places I'm treated very well and they give me a table, and other places I get paid to be there and I get a hotel room. And some places they make me feel bad for being there. Like I snuck in through the back door. It's like, what are you doing here? You're not a real celebrity. So
could you go over there and stand by those dumpsters?
So
a little further, I can still see you.
A little further, yeah, exactly. Here,
I see your feet.
So it is interesting how there's different cliques, and you're in or you're out, and at certain shows you get treated great, and at certain shows you don't get treated great, and they don't really. We couldn't even get OSI in on a press credential for this show. And you originally didn't
Originally, I didn't. Well, part of the problem was that I waited too long, and it's always this show. I always wait till the last minute. If I would apply early enough, I think I wouldn't have as many issues as I generally do. But this is the 4th year of doing this show, and of course, it's like 2 weeks beforehand, and I'm like, oh, I need to do this and stuff. So, I sent in my press credentials, reminded them that this is my 4th year. I emailed the press guy actually directly, and I emailed the press office. And then the guy I emailed directly is like, oh, email the press office. Don't direct email me anymore. Like, okay, fair enough. But then responds to the press email in his direct email.
Yeah.
And originally it was, we don't accept YouTubers. And
So they labeled you a YouTuber.
and it's like, I'm like, oh, how do I answer that? I'm not a YouTuber, as in, that's where else am I going to go with the videos? I don't mind the label the YouTuber, but I'm not specifically producing for YouTube. That's just an outlet that I use. I mean, if I could do this on DVDs, or if I could do this on my own webpage or whatever, whatever.
Well, and to be fair, a lot of your content's on Amazon. A lot of it has been on OSI 74. So you've been on Roku with it. You've a lot of and through that has been on Vimeo and everything else.
It's been on Twitch. It's been on Facebook. It goes a lot of places. It's just that why would you cut off an audience of billions? For your projects.
Well,
and I mean, I understand. I don't work for a network and everything else.
Yeah.
I know I'm a small guy. I know I'm self-made and everything. And
But yeah, it is difficult. Blah. It is difficult though, because again, a lot of that audience, that's where they watch everything. It's on YouTube. They don't watch standard television anymore.
I mean, my assumption is that you're just a YouTuber because the thing is that you're just a YouTuber, and YouTubers can go enter normally. You just buy a regular ticket and just shoot like everybody else. And I'm like, but I think that with that label, it's like, well, everybody comes in here with their iPhone and just shoots with their iPhone and uploads to YouTube. So therefore they're a YouTuber. There's no nothing to stop anybody. Nothing for the elite or whatever. There's no. I can't.
I know
think
what
of the
you're
term.
saying. I know,
it's
Paul.
the same. It's the same thing with like Amazon. Like I can't just upload to Amazon. I have to. There's other things I have to do. There's a barrier to entry. That's the one.
There's no barrier to entry for YouTube. Anyone can put a video on YouTube, and I think too that, to be honest, everyone's got a show. Everyone's got a channel. It's very hard to differentiate yourself as a professional and say, look, this is something I take really seriously. I have a schedule I have to meet. I'm not here drinking. I'm not really, to be honest,
partying.
I'm not even partying,
I'm not doing those things that were described in the 21 plus site.
Yes. I'm not here for the boobs.
Yeah, I'm here to try to do whatever I can with the celebrities and stuff like that, which is that's not just a person walk up and do kind of thing. I'm to eat up a little bit of time at your celebrities, eat up a little bit of time at your panels, and try to produce higher end content.
Sure, covering the event, and you're spotlighting the event, spotlighting the attendees, and you work really hard at a show and to make the people who come to that show look good. And it is really a shame when you are globbed in with a bunch of people who, and again, there's nothing wrong with those other people either.
It's not wrong. Nothing wrong with being a YouTuber. There's nothing wrong with the label of being a YouTuber. It's just kind of weird that was the cutoff. It's like, well, you're just a YouTuber.
Media has become such. Journalism is sort of a lost art, and I think that anybody, there's such a glut of information, and there's such a glut of people creating content that I think that they're in a position where it's like, well, we can't just let media people in.
Right. Well, I mean, not to name names, I won't name names of this other con, but there is another con that they flat out say right on their website. As a matter of fact, I think people got upset that they removed it from their website, but it's still pretty well known.
No press whatsoever, right?
Well, no press unless you're from a major affiliate, none whatsoever. They don't want to do anything. And the thing on the website is they just went on a tyrant. Everybody has a YouTube channel. Everybody has a podcast. Everybody has this. Everybody has this. That's why we can't do this. So we're just going to shut it down to everybody. And the thing is it's like, well, yeah, but that's why you apply for press. You don't accept everybody. You got to review the credentials and deem it worthy.
How big is your audience? What's your show about?
It depends on the show. You know, some shows, you know, it's by view count. Are you bringing this much traffic, or you know, if you're not bringing this much traffic, sorry. You know, and it's understandable. You know, I understand, and I can work within whatever rules you have, but yeah. Just a YouTuber.
But they did come back, right?
They came back the next day. They apologized right off the bat, and they said that, you know, that I guess what they saw was just the URLs that had all YouTube, and just thought that I was just pasting everything on YouTube, because their press policy is that you have to have a functioning webpage, which I do, and that's one of the first things that was up there. But I think they went through and they reviewed everything, and they're like, oh, we're sorry, you know, please accept our apology, and you know. Come in these doors,
and you've got like
shoot some shit.
You've got New York Comic-Con and
right, and I've got
of things.
Well, that was the thing that killed me was just a YouTuber label. Where it was like, well, this just a YouTuber is holding like 18 international awards and does film festivals and stuff, and features shows like New York Comic-Con and your show and so on and so forth. I mean, your show could be the next thing that I send out if I deem worthy, and it's like not a lot of just YouTubers do that.
Yeah. Yeah. So you got in, you got your credentials, and then you have, and I was there too. I mean, basically, my son Dylan is staying with us now, and I thought it would be fun if we just went to the show with you, and to sort of assist a little bit with the shooting of some of the.
Made you a minion.
Yeah.
Minion of Bestow.
Well,
apparently I had 2 minions of Bestow. I'm going to do a quick shout out to Zenith who helped out this day 2, which was a huge help.
You know, to be honest, I think it's too much for one person. You know, you need at least a producer or someone with you. Either an extra cameraman or an extra producer or an extra stagehand, or I wouldn't be a stagehand, field hand.
Production assistant would be the kind of proper
assistant. Oh, probably the proper term.
Because both of you guys had people lined up. So I was shooting with one person. You already had another person lined up and brought them over and stuff. And it cut down the time, because you see, I just walked the halls in a big loop over and over and over again to see, you know, because the crowd shifts to see who's where and everything. Well, so when we're all one spot, it's just pop another person.
And while you're shooting, people try to walk through your shot and all sorts of stuff. So it does help to have an extra hand when you're doing that kind of work. I guess we're going to be talking about conventions today. So please hang with us. I'm sure you have your convention stories. I'm sure you have your convention woes, your convention gaffes, your convention goofs. Put them in the comments. And we were going to talk more about conventions when we come back.
And I'm going to take a nap.
Booby trap. 40 Claymore mines packed with high explosives that can blow at the slightest shock.
No, don't, Sarge. I'm too close. No.
Booby trap. The deadly weapon of an ex-Marine who's starting a war of his own. Booby trap.
Now look, Captain.
Miss Murray, I'm on a criminal investigation, not a pleasure cruise.
Booby trap, where the dragnet where a psychopathic killer turns up other misfits almost as murderous.
Rudy!
Get out of my office, you little punk!
What are you going to do with that thing?
Don't worry about it. You just don't worry about it. I'm going to take care of everything.
If you want to be where the action is, be where Booby Trap is. Booby Trap, rated R.
This is Mr. Lobo, and this is the Sleepless Nights of Insomnia, brought to you by Horse and Milken. And I am here with Paul Sanders of Bestow TV, who is propping his eyelids open with toothpicks.
Flarfenhagen. Ow, I think that one just stabbed me in the eye.
Careful, you know. Well, you don't use the kind with the frills on them. You know, don't use those aren't the proper eyewear toothpicks.
So I noticed something when you make your cereal.
Yes.
Do you put the cereal in first and then the horse and milk in, or do you put the horse and milk in first and eat the cereal? And then the cereal?
You know, it was funny because I was pouring cereal for Dylan, and Dylan's like, "Who puts the milk in second?" And I'm like, "Everybody." And then he thought about it for a second. He's like, "Oh yeah, of course, yeah." But yeah, you put your cereal in, and then you start adding the milk, and then the level of the cereal starts to raise up, and then you stop pouring the milk before the cereal spills over.
Well, there's where I've been doing it right.
But something that you do, which I do also, and I guess you said your brother doesn't do,
apparently
or
it's
just
a
blows
thing.
people away.
Apparently it's a thing, and I'm surprised. It was a meme, and my brother said I was nuts and everything. Was that when you're done eating the cereal and there's still milk in the bowl, you just put more cereal in it, and you have 2 bowls of cereal.
That doesn't seem like a magical revelation of
It's
any
like
type.
I blew his mind, and when I was in college and stuff, that always blew my roommates' minds away and stuff. And it's like, isn't that what you're supposed to do, or do you just eat it and then just
People
drink
just
it?
what you eat the cereal, then you drink the milk, and then if you want a second bowl, you start from scratch.
I mean, I know if I'm going to eat cereal, I'm going to be eating 2 bowls of cereal. I mean, it's automatic.
I do too,
So
but
you have to be already prepared to have 2
I
bowls.
don't like to waste the milk, and to be honest, I don't use a lot of milk because I like it to be crunchy. So
Well, apparently I wait until it just overflows off the edge of the bowl. So
But yeah, I pour, I eat the cereal, and I leave as much milk as possible, actually, because I'm thinking about that second bowl of cereal, and then I just put more cereal on top.
and it's awesome, especially with like the chocolate and stuff, because the second bowl is like extra chocolate.
Yeah, it's got a little of the sediment from the first bit of cereal.
Or like the best part is like when you get to like Lucky Charms, it's nothing but the dust, and it's like you're pouring that pure dust. It's like oh, sweet marshmallows.
We're learning about Paul's diabetes right now.
It's Ewoks. I told you a couple episodes ago. It's
The Ewoks gave you
The
diabetes.
Ewoks gave me diabetes.
That's
Just like
terrible.
like that other dude. that'll
Paul
just stumble
likes
over his
sugar.
names.
We were making hot chocolate, and Paul was upset that he was being left out of.
Yeah,
the hot
thanks. That's all
chocolate.
right. That's okay. I'll just watch you drink it. That's okay. That's all I need.
You don't need it. It's garbage.
That's all I need. Yeah.
You don't need
yeah,
it.
as you and Dylan are like, this is so good. This is good. Like, screw you guys.
I really overdo it too. It's like I'm putting like caramel and
whipped cream.
and whipped cream. And, yeah, it's ridiculous. Anyway, pinch of salt, some cinnamon. So,
I did a visual and nobody could see what I just
yes,
did.
he did the meme of the guy putting a little bit of
the
little
dash
pinch of salt.
And it's just my tired state. I'm like, wait a minute, why did I do that?
That's too visual. That won't
There's no
carry over.
camera.
Won't carry over. I think Dixie is walking through again.
She's waiting.
Is Dixie waiting for
lurking.
something?
I think she wants
Dixie's
an
looking-
autograph.
Dixie, I think, is looking for
Her pencils, I think.
art supplies. Dixie's doing.
Or she
some
wants a
more
bowl of
artwork.
cereal.
Dixie does a lot of amazing art for Cinema Insomnia and OSI. If you watch the channel, all of the icons are done by Dixie. Most of them are. And Dixie, are you looking for something? You're looking for some art supplies?
Marco.
Oh, she found him. Wow.
Do.
All right.
Great.
Dixie could go back to work here.
And that's a
doing
wrap.
art.
We're done.
Yeah. But again, life goes on, and now you're drinking your water.
Life goes con.
Life goes con.
Life goes con.
Con. The Wrath of Con. That's what we should name the episode.
Okay, I'll forget that because I'm so.
Well, you'll be listening to it. You'll hear us saying it, won't
don't
you?
listen
You
to
don't
this
listen to it? Fine. Conventions now, we usually eat our breakfast before going to. It's the food at conventions is so expensive.
Well, they got you trapped and everything else. The food, like the parking, because I was telling you, it's like, oh, last year I parked for $8, and it's like $18 to put this year.
And that was after your discount, right?
Yeah, that was that because if you were there
It's
with
20 normally.
if you were there and you didn't do it online, it was 20 on the spot. But then you run the chance of not even being able to park at that show at all because that fills up quick.
And then they knock off that $2 for you if you do it online.
Yeah. And then charge you that $1 processing fee.
So you save $1.
You save $1.
Oh,
But you probably would have
beautiful.
paid that $1 processing fee once you showed up and paid in
Yeah.
cash.
Oh gosh. It is. They gouge you. I don't understand. Like you had to wear a badge to go in to this con, and that's. But what was also cool is that the show is so vast that the lobby areas or the hotel areas, they don't monitor who has a badge and who doesn't.
Well, they can't.
So
Yeah, it's
so
just too
most
much.
most of the area, you can go anywhere, and you don't even have to. I mean, I didn't have a badge to get to any of the actual con events. I was just there gawking, yes, and looking, yes, people watching until I got slapped in the face.
And I don't really think you can really do that either, because I assume that there's people who are on vacation that are at that hotel or whatever. Are they going to get kicked out?
Yeah. I mean, they've got normal hotel patrons and stuff there too.
Nice restaurants in there and bars. I'm sure the locals attend to.
Yeah, so they can't keep everyone out of everywhere. But what I think is funny is that most of the things that you have that like I don't understand why you need a badge to get into the dealer's room. You think that they would want anyone who's got spendable money. You would think they would want to get in that dealer's room, because anyone who's going to go in there is in there to browse. Anyone who's going into Artist Alley is going to buy something.
Right.
I don't understand why you have to pay money to get into a place where you buy something.
You got to pay $80 to go in to buy.
Yeah, $80 to go buy $80 worth of. So you got to pay $160 for $80 worth of merchandise.
You got to go in and you got to buy that same merchandise, that DVD for $36 that you pay on $20 on Amazon.
Yeah, or $5 at Walmart. Yeah. So of course, there's the inflated prices, and then And what's sad, I think, with a lot of these things is that the vendors I think people don't realize how important vendors are to a show. If you don't have a lot of vendors at your show looks weak. And the vendors pay top dollar for those spaces to sell their stuff. And most of the time, those guys hardly break even. A lot of those guys go home in the hole. They'll pay $250 a day sometimes to set up a table.
I went to a show, and I had friends that had tables there, and it was a bust. Nobody showed up.
Oh gosh!
And the vendors, they struck at the end of the show and demanded at least a partial payment back on their tables, because they made nothing. There was no guarantee in sales, and it's no wonder that show isn't running anymore. They did the 1 year it was in and it was out.
And the promoters, they are using the money they get from the vendors to put on the show, but then they get money from people coming in the door. And a lot of times that gate is so high that the people coming in the door don't have any money left to buy anything from the vendors, which cuts the vendors off at the kneecaps, and those guys get that pool of vendors gets smaller and smaller. And you see cons that die like this all the time, where the gate gets higher and higher. That is the attendance fee gets higher and higher and higher, and then people have less money to spend with the vendors, and then the vendors stop buying tables, and then the thing starts shrinking, and then people don't want to pay $80 to a show that only has 10 vendors. So it's interesting. Now when I'm at shows, people are like, oh, you should do this show or you should do that show. I don't want to burst your bubble, but I don't have $250 to put down on a table a day to be at a show.
Don't say that. Everybody loves Ron Burgundy.
Everyone loves Ron Burgundy.
If
I'm at a show, I'm invited. I'm invited. If I've got a table, if you see me at a show and I've got a table, I've been invited to that show and they've given me a table.
Right.
I go where I'm like a
many shows
vampire. I go where I'm invited, and so when I'm at a show, I'm usually a special guest, and they give me a table and I sell my stuff, and if I had to buy my table, it probably wouldn't be worthwhile most of the time. There is that rare occasion where you have like when we used to do WonderCon in San Francisco. I mean, that was my biggest show all year, and we made, I don't want to get into the dollar amount, but
made X.
Made X, big X, at a show like WonderCon. And if they had charged me $200 a day for those tables, it would have been worth it for the money we were making at those shows. But there are other shows where you want to support the show. Like if I'm doing a film festival, sometimes it's like, well, I believe in movie theaters, and I want people to come out to the movie theaters, and I want people to support film festivals. So maybe I'm not getting paid. Maybe I am only getting whatever I sell at this show at a table, and that's fine. And then there are some shows where, I get paid to be there. Like I'll get a check to be at the show. I'll host the show, or I'll be the MC. I'll get my own table.
And then you disappear with the Walking Dead people.
That was a different show. That was a different show. Oh, I don't know if we can tell this story.
There have to be a lot of censoring. Or
Yeah, a lot of
censoring.
censoring. There was when we started OSI, there was a big convention that we were invited to. And I'll do the short version this time because I think we could almost do a whole show about this.
We got like 30 seconds, so you want to do it on the
maybe
on the upswing?
I'll do it on the upswing. But in the 30 seconds time, I guess I can just put it out there that some of these shows are disasters. Some of these shows are a lot of times I say that there's two kinds of shows. Shows that is like a business endeavor, to where everyone is there to make money. And again, we live in a capitalist society, and there's nothing wrong with making money. On the other hand, there's another kind of show where it's just a nerd throwing a party. And sometimes those shows can be really fun and great and are good for the fandom, but a lot of times they don't make any sense, and they kind of fall apart. So we'll talk about both kinds of shows, and I guess how we're treated at different shows, and the convention experience, more on the convention experience when we come back. The fine family-run space for oddities, collectibles, retro kitsch, antiques.
Don't you mean eclectic crap?
We like to say one-of-a-kind items, Paul. Area 707. That's Area 707, located inside Cackleberry Antique Mall in Paradise, Pennsylvania. Please visit our Facebook page, facebook.com/Area707PA. That's facebook.com/Area707PA. Come see us. There's Cinema Insomnia merchandise there too, and
Eclectic crap.
that's right, at Area 707.
Hey, Mr. Lobo.
Oh, Paul, what's up?
I have a question here about this memo that I got from you. It says that BESTOW TV now needs a commercial.
Oh, whoever wrote that should get fired, I think.
I'm not quite sure what to put into said commercial.
For BESTOW TV, I mean, you just talk about your channel.
Like creative continuity and its sister show, bonus content?
Right, all the convention culture and the interviews with celebrities and all that stuff, sure.
Well, I guess I could also mention the cosplay montages, cos-tunes.
Cos-tunes, right. Astonishing cosplay montage set to an epic soundtrack.
I guess there's convention rewind too.
Those are great. We've run those on OSI 74.
So I guess that's all I need. So I guess all I have.
Are you sure? Because I think there's one other show that you produced for a BESTOW.
I don't know what you're talking about.
With Mr. Lobo. That we do together, the thing that we do. Remember all those videos we did?
Oh, like Mr. Lobo does.
Yes, Mr. Lobo does, of course.
That's awesome. I'm going to get right on this, and I'm going to write up the script.
Hey, wait, Paul. You forgot to tell them to go to bestow.tv or youtube.com/bestowtv. Idiot. So you have a show that, like we did this show that was supposedly, I'd say there were two kinds of shows. There was like a nerd throwing a party for himself and a business endeavor. This was supposedly a business endeavor. This person had seen Walking Dead and that popularity of that show, Walker Stalker Con and different things, and said, okay, well, I'm going to invite some actors from The Walking Dead. I'm going to spend $14,000 on radio advertising. I'm going to rent a fairgrounds and have a big show. And then I'm going to charge $200 for people to get in, and they'll have a VIP access to the actors and all this stuff. And so this event was planned. I did this event, and they had it at a huge fairgrounds, and they had no vendors first of all, I was talking about vendors being the lifeblood of an event. There was no vendors, and there was only one place where you could drink alcohol. There was one little kind of snack bar where you could buy beer, and you had to stay in this little corral, this little wooden corral where you could drink beer. And the
next to the pigs and sheep.
Yes, next to the pigs and sheep, and all the four celebrities, and it was like these. There was two people from The Walking Dead. There was a guy who was a wrestler, and there was myself. We were four celebrities for the whole event. Okay, and when I'm one of the major celebrities, you know you're in trouble. But it was in the middle of a livestock pavilion, and so it was just dirt ground, and it was open air, and suddenly it was starting to rain, and our photos and stuff were getting blown all over the place, and this mixer that we were supposed to have, celebrity mixer that people were paying $200 for, was just a bunch of gas station beverages in a tub. With finger sandwiches, and you could see it on the fans' faces how depressed they were. You know, that they really felt like they were taken advantage of, and it was really, really bad. And at a certain point, somebody wasn't very nice to Dixie. One of the staff raised their voice at Dixie, and Dixie was ready to leave. I was ready to leave. And we just decided, I've never ever bailed on a show, but we decided that it was time to bail on the show. So I literally drove my car up into the livestock pavilion right next to my table and started throwing things into my car. And the two Walking Dead guys, like, can we go with you? And we took two of the Walking Dead, and the person with a clipboard is like, you can't, they're under contract. You can't go anywhere with them. And it's like, look, there's no people. It's downpour rain. Our stuff's getting blown all over the place.
Right.
You're
screwing things up for us for, if this stuff gets damaged, you've got nothing to sell at the next show or whatever. You're screwing our livelihoods over.
And I was invited as I wasn't like the other celebrities. In my case, I was trying to get them to be a sponsor for the channel. And so I was just there. He said, basically, he begged me to come to the convention. He said, look, come to the convention, and if it's not if it's not working out for you, you can just leave. So I took him up on that. It's like, okay, you know what? It's not working out, and I'm not having a good time. And there's no people here. We're not being treated well, and it's time to go. So they come with me, and then one of the guys from The Walking Dead says, "We got to go swimming." And I'm like, "What? Go swimming?" And he goes, "Yeah, I'm going to find a pool somewhere." So he networks through the guy we talked to the newspaper or something early in the day, and he networked through that guy and found someone locally who had an indoor swimming pool. And we went to Walmart and bought a bunch of cheap bathing suits, and we skipped out of the convention and all went swimming in a stranger's pool for the rest of the weekend. So that's the short version. But that would be a great movie, wouldn't it? A bunch of celebrities escaping a terrible convention. But that's a short version. I mean, there were so many side adventures, but it is interesting when, like I said, you come to one show and you're treated amazing. They roll out the red carpet and they treat you like you're an A-lister. And
I got the title.
What?
Escape from Gate A. Because of the farm show. Okay.
Yes, Escape from Gate A. Wrath of Khan. No.
The Khan.
Conventions stuff is weird because I feel like a lot of times, you have a lot of up and comers at a show, which are people who are trying to establish their career and they're there to promote. And then on the other side of it, you have a lot of people who have already had an established career and maybe they're kind of winding it down. I don't want to say has been. That's not a nice thing to say, but those are like the two primary guests. Usually the major primary guests of a convention most of the guests are typically they're up and comers or they're has-beens. That's the not nice way of putting it. But I don't know. I guess I'm in that in-between state where I hope maybe I need to wait a little longer to be the has-been, or maybe I'm already the has-been.
Not yet an uppercomer, but not yet a has-been. Not an uppercomer.
I think I'm post.
How's that song go?
Post up and comer.
Not a lady, but not quite a woman. So trying to make the.
I don't know, Paul. I'm not. They're going to show that. They're going to explain that song at midnight at the Anime Con.
This is the left one.
Yeah, this is the right one. Not quite a lady.
But not quite a man either.
But not quite a man either. So we've got a lot of convention experience under our belts.
Unfortunately.
And Paul, and like I said, Paul's not one of these guys. I think, like I said, it's hard to understand what Paul does and I think people do the same thing with me. It's like, there's a lot of horror hosts who, like anybody else, because it looks fun and it's like, okay, well, I can do this, and I'm gonna put on my Dracula cape and introduce a movie and throw it up on YouTube, And so a lot of times when people see me, they go, "Oh, I know what you do. Oh, you're one of those guys," or And I got that same kind of stuff when I was on public access too, because public access had a stigma. Even though I've been on broadcast TV and satellite and on cable channels, when you do a public access show, people just think you're doing garbage, and they don't give you any respect. And I think, when I was there with you, it was interesting to see all these people who were in various stages. Some were more advanced, where they had like these amazing harnesses with these floating cameras,
backpacks with the
what is that?
Wires.
What is that? That's
Steadicam.
Steadicam. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they had Steadicam rigs and stuff like that. And then on the other hand, you have somebody who's like, they got their stupid fedora hat or whatever, but they've got their phone that they're taking pictures of, and they're giving everybody business cards.
I was amused by there was people here, and I'm like, they had the Steadicam, but it was attached to their phone, so they had the nice little big gyro and stuff like that.
And then it just had a phone.
I'm like that gyro probably costs more than that phone you have attached to it.
Well, and not to disparage not to disparage the phone. Some of them have.
I don't know what look they're going for too. Maybe that's the look that they want. I mean, my phone's a piece of shit, but I know that there's a lot of phones that probably shoot better than that camera that I carry.
There are phones that shoot better than cinematic cameras, I'm told. So, I guess it's not necessarily how your phone looks. It is interesting, though, to see, like I said, how many levels of people who are essentially trying to do the same thing that you're doing. So it's like, I've never seen you in that competitive of an environment where there's a lot of people trying to do the same thing, all on top of each other.
Right. And it's weird. I don't normally see a lot of those. Like, usually I feel like I'm the videographer amongst photographers. There's photographers all over the place, but I'm the only one usually running video. I mean, I know that there's others. I've heard stories of others. I see their videos online and stuff but I was like, I've never run into them. But it's like, when we were there, we were running. As soon as you turn the corner, you're running into one person, then the next, and then the next. And good for them.
Yeah,
very good.
Yeah. Well, it's again, photography. I mean, it's the next logical step, right? You're taking photos at a show and
you put in motion and music and whatever the most recent pop song is.
That's what you do, right?
Yeah.
And then you get your copyright strike on YouTube. And I think that with the other thing about like doing interviews at shows, like for creative continuity, like I would come to a show and you've got it kind of set up a lot of times with the celebrities, and then I go in there and
right, and that's a totally different setup than the cosplay stuff too, to cue in the listeners. Whereas like the cosplay stuff is set up that I can just pretty much shoot what I need to shoot within less than 5 minutes, gone off to the next thing. Whereas the interview stuff, it has additional equipment. It has all this stuff here that we're podcasting with, plus a tripod and a lot of other stuff. So it's very, very sophisticated,
as you would say. Yeah. Well, but see you do have to set it up because a lot of times there are so many people trying to get interviews with celebrities at conventions, and those guys are there to sign. And a lot of times those guys have a guarantee where they have. It's like, okay, and a lot of conventions go bankrupt on this kind of stuff, where the celebrity says, "I need a $4,000 guarantee.
Right.
If I don't sell $4,000 worth of autographs, you have to buy them from me. You have to make up the difference."
Right. I think that's all that would happen to that
And
other
so
con and stuff
a lot of those shows, a lot of those people who are going, "Look, I've got to keep signing autographs because every minute here." That I'm signing the convention, not signing the convention is losing money, and I'm here on their dime, so I can't really do
and we try to be really respectful.
45-minute interview with you at a show, so we totally understand.
We
that.
try to be respectful. A lot of shows that we've been, it varies from show to show, but a lot of shows it's Friday only, Sunday only, Saturday is the payday. No. There's shows, a lot of the bigger shows, they have a separate press room. So they have a total different area that you pre-sign up and you come up there and you get your couple seconds. A lot of if you watch on my channel, there's I call it the round table of the stars and stuff like that, where it's like you got like 5 minutes and you're with other press people and you just, it's
like
weird,
like a junket.
It's
almost.
weird, yeah. It's weird because the other press people usually they all have the microphones. I'm the only one with a camera and a person actually doing an interview. But everybody's throwing out things, and then they get up and they leave, and then the next person comes in and sits down and stuff, which was nice because that's how we got to do like David Goyer and stuff like that, and Ronald Moore, and that was the only way that they would do this stuff. They're not sitting at a table.
Yeah. I've never, I would love to do that with a press junket. And those of you who don't know what that is, it's just basically there's a person sitting in a chair as one half of an interview, and then they answer all the questions, but they answer those same questions pretty much for everybody in that same environment.
Right, they got it all.
Everybody takes a turn. It's like a bunch of journalists running a train on a celebrity.
generally, it's depending on which one it is. Now I've been to some where it's retro and whatever, and they're just talking about their history. But majority of the stuff, like the stuff with David S. Goyer, was we have this movie that's coming out, so we're going to talk about this movie. I'm not here to talk about Batman. I'm not here to talk about Blade. I'm here to talk about this movie coming out.
There's a lot of guidelines typically with those sorts
that,
of things.
That one, I can name drop that one. That one was maybe I won't name drop that because I'm going brain dead.
Well, that's okay. But what I was going to say, just briefly, and then we'll toss it off to break, is well, not that going to toss it off. Well, wait till the break before we get to that. One of the things that I guess it used to be much easier. When we were doing Cinema Insomnia in 2001, I could almost walk up to any celebrity at a show at WonderCon, which is a big show, and or even Comic-Con, San Diego Comic-Con, and walk up to them and say, "Hey, I've got a TV show. Do you have 5 minutes? Could you do an interview?" And most of the time, it was the rarity that they would say no. Now there are so many people, and it's so competitive that the rarity is them saying yes.
Because it's the same. It was the same deal with what I was saying with the press pass earlier, and the thing with a lot of the celebrities. Not so much the celebrity. Well, I guess you can still call them celebrities, like the comic creators and stuff like that. Is you don't need a press pass to go to a lot of them. You just go to their booth and they say yes or no. Most will look at the badge and like try to use that as the rule of measure, where it's like, yeah, all right, we'll go. Yeah, we'll go with that. Or versus somebody that may have a regular pass, where it's like, yeah.
And I was so not arrogant, but it was so rare that people said no, that there were certain celebrities that I had kind of like an attitude with, because it's just like, wow, well, who do they think they are? They're so special. They don't have time for me. It's like, you're so selfish. You're thinking in your own terms. It's like looking back now, it's like all those people that said yes were really like going out of their way, to do something for us. Anyway, we'll talk more about conventions. There's a lot to talk about, and
maybe we can talk about Neil Adams.
Maybe we will.
I don't know if we talked on the podcast about Neil Adams.
I don't think so. We'll get down to the dirt with talk about Neil Adams, who really created the darker version of Batman, most famously. He brought us away from Batman 66 in the 70s and just did a whole bunch of other stuff in the
Amazing
world
stuff.
of comics. But we'll be back with more con dirt.
I'm going to be unconscious.
Oh, God.
Here come the losers. Killers by instinct, mercenaries by profession. They're the losers. The ferocious five that tackle the whole Chinese army. When you hear the snarling engines and see the high handlebars, don't think of motorcycle gangs in California. Oh, no. Now the Army has them in the most savage action picture of all time. The losers fight on bikes rigged to kill. Savage battles, spectacular action, unbelievable bike stunts. And when you see Leaf and Lena, the funky three-wheeler iron monster that's half motorcycle and half Volkswagen, you still won't believe it. Meet beautiful Anna Corita, the Oriental doll that falls for the wrong man. Just don't you dare miss The Losers, starring William Smith, Bernie Hamilton, and Adam Rourke. It's the Dirty Bunch on wheels, in color, produced by Fanfare Film Productions, rated R.
We're back with more of the Sleepless Nights of Insomnia. And Paul, did you ever remember the name of that thing?
Ooh, I remembered it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, with the help of the iPhone and the break, I came up with Da Vinci's Demons.
Da Vinci's Demons.
That was when we did the thing.
Was
with
that on
David
Stars?
It was on Stars, and we did it with David S. Goyer and all the main stars. They just rotated from one table to the other, and all of us press people were at each table. I think there was like 5 tables, and then there was just press people at each table, and then they would just rotate from table to table. But a really, really fun experience.
Yeah, I've always, Bob Wilkins back on Creature Features, he would go down to LA and they would do these junkets where he would, all the different top stars, a lot of times they'd have them in a hotel room where like Leonard Nimoy or William Shatner or whoever, they would just be in a hotel room and then they would schedule, okay, from this time to this time, you go and talk to them. And then right after you, somebody else from a newspaper or from a magazine would come in and do their interview.
And the thing with that interview is well, maybe they might have been there for a panel or whatnot, but they weren't listed as guests at that show. So that was kind of one of those things where surprise.
Yeah.
And I've been up in those press rooms during that time, and that's where it's like you run into people that they just show up. I guess like whatever the agents or something, or call up and say, oh, hey, there's this thing going on. We need you to come in and do maybe a promo for it or whatever. So they're not even prior announced. I ran into Kevin Smith up there the one year, and he did a little piece of it for me for one of the bits. And but I think he was supposed to be there. He was supposed to be. He's always there. He's always on that one show. But the one that I ran into that I really was amazed was I ran into the professional wrestler Sheamus back there, and he wasn't. He was just like, oh, Mattel's coming out with their new toy line. They called me up. They want me to show up at the booth. So it was like it was supposed to be a big surprise and everything. So it was kind of like fun, kind of running them into I guess what you call a green room. Mm-hmm. It was just all these. They just set up these cubicles. That's kind of how the thing was set up. But
Yeah.
But it was kind of more the press area and kind of the area where you run into these random celebrities.
I did the reverse of that, and we have a bunch of that footage, but we created a green room, and then for the celebrities, and it was sponsored. It was Toy Fusion was a local toy shop, and Mr. Lobo and Chick-fil-A. And we had this is before
a chicken sandwich.
Yes, this is before Chick-fil-A was associated with hate. This is when we thought that Chick-fil-A embraced everybody, which I think they've come back around on all that. But we created a green room and lots of food there, and we set up a green screen with a couple of chairs and some microphones. And then we gave everybody a back in 5 minutes sign, and we had a extra staff person to watch their table while they were away. And we gave everyone an opportunity to drink some water or have a soda, eat a sandwich. And then if they wanted to, there was no obligation, of course, but they could do an interview with Mr. Lobo. And we got a lot of great interviews. We did Ray Park who from X-Men and Star Wars, and we did Jake Busey from Starship Troopers, and we did Charlotte Stewart from Eraserhead, and Ernie Fossilius from Hardware Wars, and on and on and on. Candyman.
Peanut butter in your base.
Yes, gosh darn it, I'm blanking. Boy, I'm tired too.
Who's the one that's got?
I know, and just a lot of really amazing. Denise Crosby from Star Trek: Next Generation. Anyway, lots and lots of stars, and we did them all in the one place, and we just had a revolving door of people sitting with me doing interviews. And what gave me the idea for that is that a lot of these conventions, they'll invite celebrities there, and they don't take care of them. They don't bring them water. They don't give them an opportunity to take a break. They just sort of they don't help them get their stuff to their car, or some of these people are in their 70s. People who were there was this woman. She was the voice of Firestar on Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. She was from Family Affair. She was one of the kids on the series Family Affair. She's in her 70s, and they would just invite her to a show, and they would.
Good luck.
Yeah. It's bedtime.
Good night.
They didn't check up. They don't check up on these people a lot of times. Sometimes they just don't take care of them.
Do you think that's why, when we were a little bit involved behind the scenes with Trauma, why Trauma would tell the cons, hey, we need X amount of dedicated volunteers to help us with our gear and stuff like that for the exact same reasons?
It's possible. I mean, I feel like if, again, I feel like... I just feel like if you're inviting someone to your show as a guest, you should treat them as a guest. And like I said, some of these people are some of them need help. Some of them they need someone help them with their stuff.
I've been to some of the smaller shows, and I've had to with Mark McKenna and stuff like that. Like Mark's I got to go to a panel and stuff like that. There's nobody here to run the booth, and I'd sit in on his booth for him while he goes and runs the panel, or you go get a bite to eat or whatever. And
right.
I mean, some of it's just that they don't have enough volunteers or whatever. So I guess they expect the celebrities to kind of take care of themselves when it comes to that, or they just want them to walk away from their table, walk away from their merchandise and stuff. It's kind of weird.
It is weird and irresponsible, and I think that they just don't think it through a lot of times. So that's why I thought there was an opportunity there where it's let's take care of the celebrities a little better. And then maybe we can get some good interviews too, so that's something that we might want to try to revisit sometime, especially to get those interviews.
My Mark McKenna story, by the way, I don't know if I told you this, but I'll tell this one for the podcast. So if you already heard it, just mark your ears up.
Okay.
Was that
I can't hear you.
Yeah, but now they can't hear me.
Okay, sorry.
So I ran I ran his booth for him so he could do a panel and everything, and. He's like, the prices is on anything, whatever, he's like, I prefer that you wouldn't sell anything without me present, but if it's something simple, just take care of it.
Yeah.
It's like, no problem. And I would just stand there, and if people would ask questions about him or whatever, obviously like, oh, he returns at this time, catch him then. He's at a panel, or even better yet, go watch his panel, And just out of nowhere, this one girl comes up, and she's got a notepad and everything, and she's got it all opened up, and she comes walking up, and she says, I got 2 questions for you. I'm like, okay. She says, what's it like to break in? What is it like to break in big time? and I forget what the other question is, and I'm like, well, the answer to the first one is that I haven't broken into big time yet, and the answer to your second question is I'm not Mark McKenna. And she just got all red faces.
That's hilarious.
I guess it's the gray.
Yeah, well, I guess if I can be Ron Burgundy, you can be Mark McKenna.
We had an actual ongoing joke because I was sitting at Mark's table, And one of the volunteers that I know, she was sitting at the Steve. I can't think of his last name, but he was the Red Power Ranger for the later series. We did an interview with him at Great Philadelphia.
Yeah.
So she was sitting at his thing, and then there was another guy that was sitting at Carla's booth. Carla was the original American version of Rita Repulsa. Mm-hmm. So we were all sitting there, and we were all calling each other. I was like, "Hey, Steve. Oh, hey, Mark. Okay, Carla." And the guy's like, "Why do I got to be Carla? You know, she gets to be Steve. You know, I'm a guy. I got to be Carla."
Well, he's got to get used to that. This is a new gender fluid world that we live in. So, I think that it is interesting because obviously celebrity is relative. A lot of times it's like people are like, don't you know who that is? And I'm like, no, I don't care who that is. I mean, they'll like roll out the red carpet and treat people amazingly well that I would go, why would they spend money to bring this person anywhere? And I'm sure people feel that way about me with like, who's this Mr. Lobo guy and who cares? And why do they have him at the show? I'm sure that happens like all the time, and my answer is, people will come up to me and goes, I'm sorry, I don't know who you are. It's like, you don't have to apologize. I'm here for whoever does care about me and what I do. I don't expect anyone to know what I do. I was invited here because the people who run this show feel like that there are some people here who might care who I am.
Right.
But that doesn't mean
16 seasons. You think somebody would care somewhere?
Yeah. I'm that doesn't mean that everybody has to know who I am. Although that one guy said that, why isn't Mr. Lobo more famous?
Right. Well, now we know.
But and vice versa. It's like a lot of the things I like are older and retro, and so like someone who is considered a top celebrity, I wouldn't know them from a stranger in the street. So.
And then it's fun things where like another thing where you're assisting me with creative continuity and stuff, and we're walking around. We're doing a live cast, and people, oh, Lobo, and we stop and talk to him, and even when we're not doing the live cast, and quite a few people come up and talk to you and shake your hand and stuff, and then we get Tuxedo Mask, who just stared the hell down you and just like, the hell are you supposed to be? And I'm like, damn it, why didn't I have my camera on?
That's what's really funny is people will come up and they'll almost put I feel like they're almost going to touch me with their nose. They're looking at me so intently. And they're like up and down, like looking, they're cocking their head, and they're just like, just staring at every stitch on my outfit. And it's like they're trying, their little mental computer is trying to figure out, is he from an anime? Mm-hmm. Is he from
They're going through that database.
Yeah. Is he from a game? Do I know this character that he's trying to be? I think the funniest thing that ever happened at a convention is I had a bunch of my DVDs out, and the guy walks up and he's like, "Oh, you're cosplaying the guy from the DVDs."
You're like, yep. $20, please.
Yeah. And then
there's Steve.
Oh, was it Steve?
Was it Steve?
I think it was
Steve.
Was it Steve?
Yeah.
I can't remember if it was
He saw
Steve or
you.
not.
He saw me with the camera. He wanted to know what we were doing. We're like, we do interviews.
He's like, why don't you interview me?
Okay.
Yeah.
And
we turned the light on and put the camera right in his face. Paul is like a little more no nonsense with interviews. He's always thinking, is my audience interested in this person, and is this going to be an interview that the audience is really going to be?
Am I going to entertain those 5 people that watch?
Yes,
this?
yeah, and I will interview anybody. I think that a lot of times there are some people, it'll surprise you. You start talking to them and they're really, really interesting. I like interviewing. I'll interview a cosplayer, or I'll interview a projectionist, or I'll interview a guy who is a behind the scenes guy, sometimes those guys have good stories, and there's some people who are the main star, the main attraction. Like I always think like Harrison Ford. You ever like listen to an interview with Harrison Ford? He's so boring, and so
I'm a genie. Yo, Adrian.
Yeah, is that your Harrison Ford? Because that's really terrible.
I think I was
sushi. That's what my ex-wife used to call me. Cold fish. Yeah, we did. You know, it's interesting because we have this idea that this is a celebrity and everybody cares about this person and everybody knows about this person, and everybody's interested in this person, and that's not always true. And there are minor celebrities and what I call cult celebrities. Like people ask me, what do you consider yourself a celebrity? Like my son will goes, "Oh, Dad, are you famous?" I'm like, your dad's really famous with a small number of people. But the other thing I always say is that I consider myself a cult celebrity, and a cult celebrity is fame without fortune. And I think I think the people in a lot of the movies that I show have that kind of celebrity. I think a lot of the trauma kind of thing is sort of that sort of celebrity where I don't know. Lloyd has money, of course. Lloyd's loaded, but I think that
in both terms of the,
as far as the celebrity, he's more infamous than he is famous, and I think that I guess whatever amount of fame that that I've acquired over the 16 and a half years of doing Mr. Lobo, I think it has been the result of that has been cult success, and I think it's sort of like people are proud of themselves for picking me out. Like they go, "Oh," it's like being on an inside joke. It's like, "Oh, I know who that is. That's Mr. Lobo."
I also try to put a lot of faith in the hosts in front of the camera too. If they see somebody that I have no clue, I put a lot of faith in you guys picking them out and stuff. Because there's a lot of times where I go and I sit in the edit, and then I have to match up the images and I have to look up their history and everything, and it's like, oh shit, this guy has been a major part of my life and I've never even known it. This guy has worked on a lot of books that I love, or this guy has done this thing that I've always liked and everything, where it's like it all comes around where it's like, I'm glad we got the thing, got that guy, got that person. And then there's the not even beyond Steve, then there's Chu-Chi Ling.
Right.
Where do you end up with Chu-Chi Ling at some point? It's like, what?
And that was interesting because we didn't look to interview that guy. It just happened.
Right. He's not a guest. He's there to enjoy the convention, and they saw us interviewing the Red Rangers, that guy I was talking about before. They saw us with the cameras and everything, and I assume it was his handler, manager or stuff. He tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Are you doing interviews?" I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, do you know this guy? And he points to the guy, and it's like the same thing where people are trying to recognize you. It's like, I know this guy. Yeah. I know him from somewhere. The gears are grinding. It's like, I'm sorry, he looks familiar, but I can't put it. And he's like, do you know who the tailor is from Kung Fu Hustle? And I'm like, I love Kung Fu Hustle. Yeah. It's like, oh yeah. And then I'm like, when you're done with your interview, and I'm tapping him, I'm like, yeah, we're doing this interview. This guy wants to be interviewed and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, Kung Fu Hustle. And you're like, Kung Fu what?
Yeah.
Just go with it.
And it turns out, he'd been in hundreds of films, Kung Fu films, films made in
stuff
China.
With Jackie Chan, stuff with Bruce Lee.
Golden Palace, all kinds of things. Yeah, exactly. He's worked with all the major actors in China as far as Chinese film. So it was he actually was a really important person to talk to. He ends
up being a part of my business card.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't. Paul has these postcards that he hands out, and it's got Mr. Lobo interviewing. Actually, we're both actually doing an action pose together. An action pose. And it is interesting because, again, that was something we weren't looking for, and it ended up being a really funny and fun moment with a 74-year-old staple of Chinese film,
and still
going. And who knows if we'll ever run into that guy ever again.
Right.
He goes back to China, and we never see that guy again.
Right.
So sometimes those things happen, and they're really special, and it's the last thing that you expect.
Right. I was hoping to top off with Neil Adams, but we're way over time, so maybe we'll save that story for a later day.
Are we done already? We're don't have done. Any more breaks?
This is it.
Wow.
This is the end.
Wow.
This is the end, my friend.
I didn't realize how much bitching we had to do about conventions, Paul. This has been a major. Really I guess not. We didn't even not talk. We didn't even have time to not talk about Jurassic Park. That's how much we bitched about conventions.
We were on the there's no Jurassic Park at conventions. That's not true. There's dinosaurs and
At conventions,
There was like, did you see the
people
Alien Grant yesterday?
Do they cosplay?
There was an Alien Grant yesterday.
Really?
They were in the thing.
No, I would have liked to have seen that.
And today I shot 2. You know, the T-Rex, the blow up T-Rex is the big thing right now.
Yes.
So I filmed 2 of them doing a lightsaber duel.
Oh wow, that sounds hilarious. You know, I love those. It's amazing. Like, how come no one ever did? How come no one ever did that before? Like, you look at that blow up T-Rex. There's nothing technologically about it that they could have built those in the 70s if they wanted to. Just nobody thought to. You know what I mean? It's like I don't think that there's. I mean, I could be wrong. Someone correct me, but I feel like, you know, there's nothing about it that couldn't have been done at a different point. And then suddenly there's just...
It's a thing.
It's a thing. And people dress up in these amazing costumes as a stupid inflatable T-Rex.
What would you... It's not a meme. It's
No.
just a thing. It's just one person did it and it was funny, and I guess they're easy to obtain. So now a lot of people do it because their faces are covered. So, you know, could it be the same guy or could it be a different guy? Who knows?
Who knows? It's just a really funny looking T-Rex.
And then I guess it bled over because there's a bunch of them. There was commercials and stuff that feature them now. You know, so now it's in the pop.
You know, and thank goodness for whoever built those costumes, because I'm sure that sold a lot of costumes for them. You know, it's like when I first saw those funny like rubber horse masks. You know, it's like the first time I ever saw that, I was like, where do you even find a mask like that? And it's like, you know, you see those rubber animal masks everywhere. So it is interesting how those things just come out of the blue and, you know, they stick, you know, and I guess that's the sort
and
of...
after you take them off from wearing them all day and you throw them to a wall, they stick.
They do stick. I mean, I guess that's the thing about all this stuff is that it captures the popular imagination. That's why everyone is there at a convention, is because they made some kind of impact with people, with fans, and it just stayed with them. And, you know, and I think that, you know, your work, my work, you know, in a smaller way has impacted a lot of people. And it's neat to be on both sides of it, to where you can appreciate it as a fan and to be a part of the process of making stuff, you know, that people...
Getting it out there for others to see.
Yeah, and spreading the word, because if there's something that's really fun and is really...
it's like their art inspires my art, which inspires somebody else's art.
Right,
you know,
yeah, exactly.
You know, with Zenith helping me, she's like, you know, that inspires... you know, what you do inspires me to want to...
Yeah, she was helping
like
you,
that.
and she was being creative also.
So she was like taking some time out and directing some scenes, and I was just...
You know, and when I was helping you, I was being creative too. I was.
Oh, I see. Take the wind out of Zenith's sales.
No,
I'm kidding.
But you know, I mean, again, you know, I don't always have to be contrary to popular belief. I don't always have to be the center of attention. You know, I like working behind the scenes too, and I like being part of the creative process, and I like collaborating. And I think that you know, that's the one thing when I go to a convention, and maybe we'll end on this, is that there's so many people who've been touched by the magic of fantasy and sci-fi and all of these things, animation and creative writing and whatever, and turned on by it. And they're so creative, you know, it's feeding their creativity. Like we're talking about art creating
right.
art. It's like
that cartoon, that TV show,
that cartoon,
movie.
TV show, that movie. They're like, okay, I got to build this costume and I'm going to do this, and then they'll mash it up, or they'll make it their own, or they'll think of some special way of doing it,
and then YouTube will copyright claim it and.
Right, and then it's all over. And then no, but then you shoot it, and you block out a scene with them, and you know, so it's like,
and I'm shooting with them, and then it's like, well, I'm going to edit this like a movie, so you know, it's coming back full circle where it's like they're doing this thing that's emulating this movie, anime, cartoon, and then on my end, I may be re-editing it as a movie or anime or cartoon, or like in some of the past like anime conventions where I've emulated the shows that they come from,
or it seems like a trailer or a scene from a movie or a music video. And I think that's what I would love to see more of, is because you've got all these people who can build things and make things, and people who can act, and people who can be these different characters, and you know, people who who just have all that creative energy. It's like, I feel like there's this wave of filmmaking that's just waiting to happen, that's maybe far away from, not necessarily far away from LA or New York, but everywhere. Everywhere where there's lots of people with imagination, they could put all of that energy together and just make these wild stories that have all these flights of fantasy and characters and weapons and contact lenses and capes and
stilts
and stilts, and I just feel like that's the thing that's so exciting, is that there are so many people who want magic in their life, who want imagination and creativity in their life, and who want to think outside the box and be different people and tell stories. And so all that, I think, is the great thing about being a convention. Not just the bitching, not just the food's expensive and the people are annoying, and it's the competition and all that stuff. Yeah, that's there too, but we have to forget.
Well, that's life.
Yeah, we have to remember that we're there because we love it, and we don't have to be there. No one's forcing us to be there.
Right.
And sometimes, we're there, and all of us should be there because we want to be there. And if there's ever a moment there where we don't want to be there, we need to not be there. And on that note, I don't want to be here anymore.
I want to go to bed. The couch over there is calling me. I am going to sleep for a couple months.
But this is how much we love you guys. We just decided we would do this podcast anyway.
And you got a little bonus. You got a little bonus, a couple minutes.
Little extra time, But
you 5 people, you better like the hell out of this.
Yes, thumbs up all 5 times, and those 3 people who keep thumbing us down, cut it out, okay? This is yeah. Good night. You have been listening to the Sleepless Nights podcast, or should we say pODDcast?
pODDcast.
Emphasis on the odd. Our theme is by Mars Homeworld at Deadhouse Music. Our opening announcement is by Ophelia Necro. She does a radio show called Suicide Watch. And you could reach Mr. Lobo at cinemainsomnia.com, or find me on YouTube, YouTube/Mr. Lobo, MISTERLOBO. Mr. Lobo on Facebook, Facebook/MR.LOBO, or on Twitter, at Mr. Lobo, MISTERLOBO.
Or you can find myself, Paul Sanders, or better known as BESTOW TV, at BESTOW.tv, on YouTube /BESTOW TV, on Twitter at BESTOWPROD, PROD, and on Facebook, BESTOW TV.
If you want to place an advertisement with this podcast, and gosh, why wouldn't you? We could be talking about you right now. Contact us, Mr. Lobo at cinemainsomnia.com. That's MRLOBO @CINEMAINSOMNIA.com. Or support us on Patreon. Patreon supporters get to hear this podcast before anyone else, and a lot of other great stuff, right, Paul?
Sure.
Doesn't get it better than that, right? So come join the fun at patreons.com/cinemainsomnia. That's patreon.com/cinemainsomnia. Please stay up with us next week for another Sleepless Nights podcast. Or should we say, pODDcast.
pODDcast.
The best thing about being an insomniac is never having to say goodnight.
Good night.